Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Today's going to be a super special video. I got a special guest here, none other than the one and only Nubkex. He's joining us for a very cool video. We're going to be talking about the top 5 sleeper picks. Of course, we get our own choices. I think this is going to be an interesting one. So let's welcome Mr. Nubkex here. Welcome, Nubkex.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. And yeah, I'm excited to see if we can change anyone's mind on any of these champions.
Yeah, great. I think we got some good picks here, so let's jump right into it. So we're going to hop into the index here. So I'm going to go first. My first sleeper pick actually coming from the Banner Lords. This is actually a champion that was basically a guarantee not too long ago. I believe it was from a Hero's Path. She was a little bit expensive. I believe it was like 20 Sacreds worth, but it's actually Kaja the Rye. She's, like I said, a Banner Lord. She's a support champion. She has good base stats, very quick. And the big thing about her is that she has a team revive. So she revive all dead allies with 50% HP and turn meter. So it's obviously great support for the live arena. If she is like your only support, she's excellent. She also brings a bit of a heal on her A1. Her A2 brings a bit of turn meter, so she can speed up your team. And like I said, she's really good as like a go first champion because her base speed is so high, even higher than like Arbiter, which is like 110. She brings, speed in all battles, 19%, not as good as Arbiter, of course, but still very good. And her passive has some turn meter reduction effects, decreased by 50% when used against this champion. So she cannot be decreased herself. So I think she's just a really strong support, especially in the live arena when sometimes you don't have the best options available for you. So I think, yeah, she's kind of a good sleeper pick.
Yeah, she's a great pick. Yeah, it was Deck of Fate was the card flipping one to get her.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think not only in this game, but like in any game, right? We in general can just be too meta slavish. I think, we want to have only what's the best of the best. I've always said about Kaja and Timid together that they're like, I think you put the two of them together, it's like an 8 out of 10 in Arena. I think that makes people overlook them because they go like, well, if I've got a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 champion, why would I ever need them? But for a lot of people, she could actually be really good. And yeah, like if you got a limited roster and your champions get picked away or banned away, yeah, she's got, like you said, she's got great base stats. She's got a good kit. Yeah, Kaja, she's totally underrated.
Yeah, very good. I think exactly what you said. Like if you have better options, then that's great. But as a sleeper, I think she's not talked about and she's not used about, and you definitely don't see her very often. But she's actually a very solid champion. So, all right, Nub. So up to you. What's your first sleeper pick?
I'm gonna go with Foley. Yeah, it was I think Biohack was using Foley and really opened my eyes to it. But yeah, Foley, I think he's a great champion, right? The main reason is his A3. It's the AoE, the extra hit. It actually does a lot of single target damage to someone, but it's the block revive on this, which is so good. I think particularly nowadays, we were talking about on the collab for my channel, what champion should people build? And for almost every account, we're like, you should build Sun Wukong, right? Let's go. Well, Foley comes in. He's the right affinity. He's got a nice passive as well if their team is faster. And then, look, if he kills Sun Wukong with that AoE, that puts you so far ahead in the fight. It's really, really good. I think any block revive champion can be extremely viable in live arena, where team builds are weaker and you're more vulnerable to that. So yeah, I think he's really underrated. Like by everyone almost, he's such a strong option.
100%. Like what you said about the team structure in live arena, you don't have the perfect team, and when teams are built a little bit weaker than somebody with even less base attack, that's kind of the knock against Foley, is that his AoE is not super strong and his base attack is not super high. But when teams are not perfectly synergized, this can be devastating to the opponent's squishy attackers, for example. Yeah, so totally makes sense. And yeah, like you said, his passive is also very good too. It makes him immune, or not immune, but it gives him a little boost when some hard CC comes his way. So very good. I actually used Foley for a long time on my first account. He speeds up the classic fights where he just shuts down the revivers and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so I'll come back in here with my next sleeper pick. I know like people are gonna be like, oh, he's a Void legendary, but he's a champion that nobody ever sees in live arena. It's Mr. Grazul. If you're fortunate enough to have this guy, he's an absolute king in Hydra. But in the live arena, he's actually very, very strong. He actually combines a couple passives that are very good on other champions. So he has this passive here similar to like Vogoth. And Vogoth's a very good epic that kind of keeps your team alive. He also has an unkillable buff on himself when he receives a fatal hit, similar to like Skullcrown, for example. So it's very good at keeping him alive. He has an AoE CC here. He can buff your team, gives your team more survivability, and he actually deals decent amount of damage on his AoEs. So a surprising amount of damage, especially like you said, when team comps are not optimal. Having a high sustainable champion stay alive for a long time, just chip away at you slowly with these AoEs. It's going to be pretty devastating, I think. So I think Razul, I think he's underestimated in live arena. But of course, he's a Void Legendary, so not everyone's gonna have him.
Yeah. No. But on the flip side, if you do pull him, like he is a 100%, you must build this champion, right? Because he's so good, and he's gonna have really good gear on. So again, when we're looking at accounts where again your gear, not just your champion roster, but your gear is limited. Well, hey, if you got a champion that is absolutely S tier almost across the board and has some of your best gear, bringing them into live arena when they've got a great passive like this and good skills, yeah, it's not like the top of the meta, but it can be really effective for your account.
Yep, 100%. Awesome.
Actually, I'm gonna reorder my list slightly. I gotta go straight on that one to Razelvarg. He's my favorite sleeper pick for this video.
Okay.
But yeah, like again, the exact same sort of scenario here. We're looking at a champion that is absolutely amazing for Hydra as well as other stuff, of course, as well. Likely to have really good gear, and why the heck not use them in live arena then? Like you might have better stuff. Like I don't use mine in live arena. I've got better stuff, but for a lot of people, this guy could be great, and it's going to pay off not only in arena but in multiple areas if you put that good gear on him. So like you're probably building Razelvarg to be really fast. I mean, having a really fast nuker with 2 short cooldown AoEs and tons of speed boosting, it can be pretty devastating. It can be very strong. Again, could help you get ahead of a Sun Wukong and just keep him down, keep their team down. So yeah, I know I mentioned this to you before I was going to mention him, and you were excited by it. So I think you like this one as well.
This champion, actually, he has great stats strictly from arena perspective. 1520 attack is very solid for an attack-based nuker. 110 base speed, incredibly quick. He also brings super valuable like speed aura. This actually really helps having your nuker with the speed aura, not just relying on your supports. So this is especially important for like a live arena, like we've been talking about with mismatched like team comps. Having the extra 20 speed here or 20% speed here is very good. Increased accuracy, obviously very good for Hydra, but actually kind of good for live arena as well. In a good, it can be a good or bad thing, obviously polymorph and stuff like that, but
right.
Yeah, but increased speed, and then the double AoE is super devastating, and often he will get the lapping. He will lap opponents with his extra boosted speed here, so yeah, very good pick. Okay, I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to go full on defensive mitigation, keep your guys alive, hopping into the dwarves. I'm going to go with Gottfried Brassclad. So Gottfried here, he's like, for me, he's kind of like a budget Necrit. So like Necrit's role is to keep your squishy nuker alive. So Gottfried for me kind of does that same role. His passive here, basically when an ally receives a fatal hit, he places block damage on it, and then if they have like a double hit, for example, they'll hit into the shield and then stun themselves, which is actually kind of a good CC. So that's kind of like his whole role, right? Like his role is this, but he also brings some extra utility. He has an AoE 100% stun, which is awesome on a 3-turn cooldown, and then he has a kind of like a half cleanse ability here. Not really super great, but increased defense. There's not too many increased defense champions that are usable. So increased defense here is pretty solid. And then he has some CC on his A1. So as a overall champion, I think he's actually very solid. I did do a video on him a long time ago with no books and no masteries, and he actually worked super well. So he's like a really good like budget option for people, especially if you just have like a wacky comp that you just need to keep your squishy nuker alive, and he's really good at that role. You can give him like, make him really slow, give him a big shield set, and then just let him chill, right? Let his passive chill there, and right. So yeah, that's gonna be my pick.
he was like one of the easier guarantees to get as well, if I remember right. So I was at a wedding over in Scotland when that happened.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was like a 2x Ancients, and I think he was quite cheap as well, so it was a
You're
pretty
right,
good
yeah.
time.
I think it
Get
was
a lot of
120 or 140, and it was during a 2x.
Mm,
That's how I got him, yeah. Good one. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Right. Cool. All right. A lot of mine are damage. I picked a lot of damage dealers here. I'm gonna go with Krutraxa.
Tracks it.
So yeah, it's a void. But I think Krutraxa is pretty underrated. Like she's demon spawn.
Sorry.
She has kind of a bit of a wonky kit for sure. But what I really like about her is she can be really strong if you got any ally attack champions, and especially with that A1, the 4 hitter. It can be a really good way again to deal with things like Ultimate Death Knight. Um, right, the first hit hits Ultimate Death Knight. Guess what? You got 3 other hits that hit very hard, that are going past that UDK, which is really good. She's got an extra turn on the A2 as well. So yeah, again, I've run into her a couple of times in live arena and been actually pretty impressed by her. Again, she works super well with, like I said, ally attack. Really good to counter. Like if your team, if you don't have a reviver and like you're trying to protect someone with just like a UDK or something, probably a lot of people in that situation, a Krutraxa can like punch through that defense, take out your champ, and you're done for basically. So yeah, I
Yeah.
find she's very good.
Yeah, what I've seen use cases for her is basically like if you're facing a lockout team, you can bring her in just for the A1. So her A1
Yeah.
is actually very strong for that. So she doesn't really need, she can be locked down and still play fine. Yeah, I noticed she also places Revive on Death on herself, which makes her a little bit more survivable. And a nice attack aura in all battles. Very useful. So yeah, for sure. She's known for her quad hit, 25% here in books. So very good damage efficiency from books. I think the knock against her is that her multipliers are not super high, but makes sense
Yeah.
since she has 4 hitter.
Yeah, and the ignore defense is very good. Like you pair that with Savage Helm Smasher, and yeah, you can just delete people with the A1.
Yeah,
A little
100%.
bit random depending on Helm Smasher, but then again, most champions are a bit. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Good shout here. Void legendary too, so she won't weak hit or anything like that. So very, very nice. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna go back with the another defensive option here. Hang back to the barbarians, another guarantee champion. So we got Algor Crimson Horn. So Algor, the big thing about Algor is that he does have the same 4-turn block damage for 2 turns, similar to Helikath and similar to Roshguard. However, he is a little bit different than, like, for example, Helikath, which gets talked about a lot in live arena, in that Helikath does damage, but Algor actually has a AoE strip here, which is actually really, really nice. Not like a full strip, but it is a bit of a strip. So he can play in at pretty much full support. He brings some healing. His A1 also does some healing and then increases duration of debuffs. So he's like more of a support champion. And yeah, when he's attacked, he can place decreased speed on the attacker. So I think he's just a champion that fills the same role as Helikath and was a guarantee, and probably just doesn't get used too often as Helikath, but he's actually a very, very solid option as well. And obviously in certain areas of arena, his block damage is going to be harder to remove or deal with. So for some people than others as well. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing I like about him is that I think Helikath can be quite difficult to build because you need to get good defense damage on him, and you need to get good speed, preferably. Like that's kind of tough, and maybe on the sets, Algor is much easier to build, right? You can have him just kind of fast and stone skin, and there you go. You've got yourself a good block damage champion to throw in. That can be quite helpful. So yeah, I think he's really underrated. Like no one ever talks about him. We talk about Helikath all the time. Like poor Algor needs a little bit of love, I think.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, let's see. Hopping over to you.
Yeah, so my next one is Mountain King. Call this one the Shinny Special. I've seen he's used a good bit in his videos. I think the concept of Mountain King is pretty simple. Like the base stats are just like 31,000 base HP. It's just crazy. He's just very, very tanky, and he hits a single target very hard. So he could just be a solid option for some teams. Like I can't believe Shinny makes him work as well as he does, but he does. So there you go. He ignores shield and block damage. That's useful as well when he starts killing people. Boosts his damage up a bit, which is nice. But yeah, it's just simple enough. Very difficult to kill this guy. He's very tanky, and he hits very hard single target. And yeah, so long as you can control them a bit, or if they don't have a good reviver or something, you can pick them off one by one, survive their attacks. I think he's actually a fairly solid option for a champion that's, I don't know, doesn't really see much love otherwise.
Yeah, it's interesting. He has a HP and attack scaling as well.
Yeah,
Um,
it's super weird.
I'm not sure how exactly it works, whether he favors one or the other, or whether it's an evenly split. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, an interesting build I've seen some people build maybe in the past, but I've seen people build him super slow, super high damage in relentless gear because his base speed is so poor that trying to jack speed on him is actually really hard. So then they just like totally forego speed and then let the RNG gods run relentless and then try to get the extra turns in.
Yeah.
I don't
mean,
know.
it can be viable.
Yeah. The other way is, I guess I've seen him built in like a big ass shield set, and that you know, in kind of damage, and let this ignore target defense do the work. But yeah, definitely very tanky, hard to kill. I actually still see this guy once in a while in Gold 3 as well. So
Right. Yeah.
Definitely viable. All right, so my last of my top 5 sleeper picks, I'm going to head into an epic. I think it's the best epic that probably never gets used in live arena, and it's going to be the Void Attack Nuker Skullcrown. She's famous, right? She's been in the game forever. She's famous. I still think she's very viable in live arena, especially the lower ranks, where it's kind of hard to deal with her passive, which keeps her unkillable. She brings 2 AoE nukes, A1, so she can play locked out or not. She brings a lot of damage, and then she also has this very important speed aura in arena. So we were talking about how important it is to have like basically mismatched compositions, where they can just be good by themselves and bring extra utility. Like somebody like Skullcrown, even though she's just a nuker, she does have this very important speed aura, which really helps your team. So I think she definitely deserves an extra look nowadays. Obviously, with like some login champions like Rhonda and Wukong, these are great nukers, and they kind of put like epics behind them. But depending on where your account is, Skullcrown can be excellent. So yeah, I still think she's very solid, especially in the lower ranks for sure.
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, people always love Genbo. For me, though, I've always been a Skullcrown stan instead.
Me too, yeah. Me too, yeah.
Skullcrown. Yeah, you could do some fun cheese stuff with her as well. Like when you've got her built, she's, I mean, super useful just for quick farming, even campaign or Doom Tower. You can do fun cheese teams with her in Tag Arena as well. So very versatile, well worth building. And yeah, very strong for live, very strong. All right, my last pick then. She's known as a good champion. I'm going to pick Lady Kimmy as my last champ, right? So this is, not a champion that people think is bad by any means, but I think she kind of fell out of the arena conversation in a big way, with Stone Skin being so prevalent and all the other top tier stuff. She's not talked about so much, but I've actually personally run into her a few times in live arena, and she can really wreck your team just with the turn meter control that she has, because she is so fast. And with the increased speed, the turn meter boosting, and particularly on her A1 and A2, pushing back your turn meter in combination with her passive for even more turn meter pushback, you can actually end up just, having, in theory, a better team than them. But, oh, yeah, no, they're just running laps around me, and I'm being totally controlled. And, yeah, they just, smash through the defenses. And, there we go. We fall over. So, yeah, I've actually found her to be much better in live than I thought she would be. She can be kind of scary to fight against sometimes.
Yeah, I think the big thing was probably Sheep. I think I've still seen her maybe like a year ago, but when Sheep came in and she started dropping multiple debuffs on this move, it made it really hard to use her. Obviously, very nice base speed. I think highest in the game, 115, and lots of turn meter stuff. I saw her, the last time I saw her used very highly was in one of a content creator used her in combination with I believe a lockout, so you could increase accuracy with the lockout, and then he had like nukes with Kymar. So this was way back, like a year and a half ago, but that's kind of but that's kind of how you use it. Like with the Kymar lead, you go Kimmy with the accuracy boost, and then you have the boosted accuracy on Kymar, and then lockout, and then you just nuke away safely. But that was been a while ago. I mean, you could probably make that in live arena. She's definitely very solid. She can take over a match by herself, like you said. So
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the sort of teams I ran into. Is like Kymar, Kimmy, Lockout, and then a couple of nukers, and you're like, this gets awkward now in terms of they're all faster, and you've got to either have you ban the Lockout, but then you can really get turn meter locked by the Kimmy. And like for lower level arena where people don't have crazy amounts of polymorph, and certainly with the polymorph nerf coming as well, which is gonna help her a bit too. Like she can be stronger. Like again, you won't see her at top end because, like you said, she'll be a sheep, and there's much better champs now. But for most people, like even for me, like I run into her and it could be kind of rough. I've got no polymorph. Uh-oh.
No, 100%. Like she's a definitely tricky champion to deal with. She has a lot going on in her kit, tons of stuff. Okay, all right. So those are our top 5 picks for myself and Nupkex. Hopefully you guys saw some value here in some of our picks. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think about our picks, and if you guys have any sleeper picks yourselves that you guys use or you guys notice yourself. Of course, also let us know in the comments below if you guys like these type of collab videos. I've had tons of fun with Mr. Nupkex here, and I greatly appreciate his time for popping over and saying hi to everybody here. Nubs, I'm going to leave it to you to outro. Anything you want to say to everybody here?
No, just thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you got up very early in the morning to make this happen because we're on totally different sides of the world. So I really appreciate that. And I had a ton of fun as well. That's it. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. And thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.